Computers are getting smaller, faster, and more powerful all the time. That's awesome for a lot of reasons, but it's creating a problem. Most of our computers store data pretty much the same way they have for decades, and that technology is starting to run into fundamental physical limits on just how small and fast it can be. Which is why a lot of researchers are working on newer tech to take its place. And someday, you might be saving that fan fiction you're writing about Sherlock and Watson to a tiny glass disc that could last billions of years, or storing it as a hologram. You might even be able to hard-code it into DNA. Your DNA is made of chemical compounds called nucleotides that tell your body what kinds of molecules to make. And scientists have been working on ways of arranging those nucleotides to encode data that computers can work with. Nucleotides are smaller than the smallest magnetic bits or transistors that computers use to store data today. So if each nucleotide in a strand of DNA represents one bit of information, DNA could be way more efficient than anything else in the world right now. We're talking storing the entire world's data in just a teaspoon of DNA. And DNA could also be more stable than a lot of other current methods we use. It's not age of the universe stable, but it might be able to last for hundreds of years longer than hard drives or SSDs. DNA storage has only been around for about 20 years, so it hasn't quite reached its potential yet. Scientists are still figuring out how to get these incredibly tiny nucleotides in exactly the right order along an entire strand of DNA so that each one can represent a bit of information. The current record is from a team that stored about 200 megabytes, about 1.6 billion bits, or about 60 songs worth of data, on short DNA strands. It's also hard to find ways of reading DNA at a particular random spot, which is what computers have to do whenever they open a file. If researchers work out these problems, though, there could be a day when you really do have music in your DNA.